Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Weird times we are living in, aren't they? I've got a follow-up item, or a couple of follow-up items actually from last week that I want to go over before we get into today's show. Now, many of you will remember that last week we were covering the cult of Tammuz. And Tammuz, the name Tammuz, is actually also Dumuzid. Now, one of you noticed in the comment section, this is why I always try to read through the comments. Let me make sure we're live first before we continue on. But the word or the name Dumuzid actually means something that confirms the original findings about this thing existing inside the wall. Now, Tom says we're live. Let's take another look at this. The cult of Tammuz mentioned in Ezekiel 8. This is it here. This is Tammuz, Dumuzid, as you can see here. And the word or the last three letters of the name Zid means something. It actually means wall in Bosnian. And so this actually confirms this cult of the inside of the wall, which God mentions to Ezekiel in Ezekiel chapter 8, that these abominations were hidden inside the wall. Wow, right? And all of these stories, these news stories about naked people being trapped in walls, it was manifesting spiritually. Now, the other part of the name Dumuzid means thought. The word Dumu, D-U-M-U, in Russian means thought. So in effect, the name Dumuzid means thought wall, or thoughts inside of a wall. Chilling. Now, here's where things get creepy, because one of you asked me to take a closer look at verse 17 in Ezekiel chapter 8. And it was about putting a branch up to their noses. God was describing to Ezekiel the pagan practices of these sun worshippers, that they would put a branch up to their face, up to their nose. Are you ready for this? Well, this is the commentary on Ezekiel 8, verse 17, about putting the branch to the nose. And let me just read this. This is supposed to be part of the ceremonies of their sun worship. It is said that the Persian sun worshippers held before them a branch or bunch of date, pomegranate, or tamarisk tree, or according to some, of the homa tree, probably that their breath might not contaminate the glory of the rising deity. In other words, they put a mask on. Wow, to cover their breath. You can't get more specific than this. Now, there's also a part of Ezekiel chapter 8 that talks about them having their own garments covering their face. Another reference to a mask. Now, there was something else about Ezekiel 8 that just blew my mind. As God is describing the vision in the wall, he has Ezekiel looking in every direction. And doesn't that sound familiar? This is a reference to how these sun worshippers worship the sun. They worship the rising and setting sun in the east and west. So I wanted to close the loop on those findings. And thanks to those of you in the comment section that brought these things up so that we could close the loop on this and confirm the findings that we found on this. Now, here's a crazy story, this next story. Oh, let me show you this first. Here's an ancient image of these sun worshippers, these Persian sun worshippers, with this branch that they would put up to their nose to cover their breath. I wanted to show you that. Now, here's a crazy story, and I can't believe that we missed this one. This goes all the way back to October. About this man who killed his wife. How did he do it? With a snake. Not once, not twice, but 3 times he tried, and he finally did it in the last attempt. I guess 3 times is a charm. Snake charm, that is. Let's read this. India man jailed for killing his wife with a cobra. And as we read through this bizarre story, remember that early on in the spamdemic, we had identified that the double Pokemon sticker is a metaphor for a snake bite because you have to get 2, and now a booster seat. Let's read this. An Indian man who was convicted of killing his wife by making a cobra bite her has been punished with a rare double life sentence. Suraj Kumar was arrested last year after his wife, Uthra, died from a snake bite. Police began investigating after her family alleged murder and had been harassing them for dowry. I guess that's like a payment when you marry somebody. On Monday, court found him guilty of releasing a cobra onto the bed while she slept. 25-year-old homemaker was found dead in her home in May last year. Her family became suspicious when she had been bitten by a Russell's viper just weeks before. She was recovering from this first snake bite when she was attacked by the cobra. Police said their investigation pointed to Suraj being behind both attempts. They also arrested a man who had helped her procure the snakes. He later turned approver and helped police piece together the case. This is crazy. So understand that a lot of this is programming, right? People being bit by snakes operating in plain sight. Now, this next story, I believe we've cracked part of the case as to this pilot who flew on Blue Origin. The rocket launch had just happened, and he flew with William Shatner, the Star Trek guy, Captain Kirk. And apparently, one of the guys who was on that launch is now dead, and they're saying it's from a small plane crash. Now, if you look on this guy's social media, his name is Glenn DeVries. If you look on his social media, you will see that he is an avid, or was an avid, small plane pilot. Cessnas and things like this. So apparently he paid Bezos a bunch of money to fly on the Blue Origin's rocket, right? With William Shatner. So, what's up with this guy? Well, I wanted to dig into this because my first thought was, what did this guy see up there that they didn't want us all to know about? But then I looked and there was footage from the flight up into space. And so I thought there's got to be another angle to this. Well, let's read this and I'll tell you my thoughts on what I think was going on with this situation. Pilot who flew with William Shatner to space killed in plane crash. Now, he made it was one day before, 30 days after. It was like the 29th day after he flew on Blue Origins. New Jersey State Police said troopers responded at 2:50 p.m. to the report of a small plane crash in Hampton Township, Sussex County. There were 2 victims, DeVries of New York and Thomas Fisher, 54, of Hopshong, New York. Both the Federal Aviation Administration and National Transportation Safety Board confirmed they were investigating the crash of the Cessna plane. He was an American businessman and co-founder of Metadata Solutions. So I looked into Metadata Solutions, and here is what I found. This is the company he owned. Technology company that develops and markets software as a service for clinical trials. These include protocol development, clinical site collaboration and management, randomization, and trial supply management, capturing patient data through web forms. Then I was like, okay, this isn't just any clinical trial company. They were actually responsible for 40% of the world's clinical trials powered by metadata. This is right off of their website. Wow. So this is metadata. And I'm starting to wonder if there's some kind of connection to this as to why he is no longer here. Now, I looked them up here in Wikipedia, and apparently they had some legal problems. Recent legal problems. Let's take a look here. There was actually a large acquisition too. They were acquired by another company just before all this went down, just before the spamdemic hit. They were acquired by a larger company. Let's read about these legal issues. 2014, they discovered that they had been a victim of fraudulently induced transfer of $4.8 million. Company filed an insurance claim, but lost, which it was denied by their insurer. The insurer claimed that its policy only covers losses resulting from fraudulent entry or hacking into a computer system, and that in this case, the transfer was voluntary. While metadata argued that the thief's actions did come within the policy's definition of covered losses. So, $4.8 million went out of their account, and they're trying to appeal that to get that money back. That was in 2017. There are also 5 employees who supposedly stole some information. Trade secret theft. Complaint alleges that Viva induced former metadata employees to reveal confidential information. This was 2017. And trade secrets that belong to metadata. So there's some drama surrounding this company. Now, all companies have drama like this. But this is just a little bit odd. Basically, the foundation of all of the Pokemon stickers, the guy responsible for all the studies, all of the clinical trials, warp speed, and on and on and on, ends up dead. Just a little bit suspicious, right? Now let's keep going with this, because there's more. Look at this. You can't deliver a life-saving Pokemon sticker in less than a year until you do. So they fast-tracked this, didn't they? Yes, they did. This was all under the Thump administration. Fast-tracking these to market, and metadata was at the center of it all. Sounds like there could be more to this story, doesn't there? Sounds like motive and tying up loose ends. So, how did metadata become so successful? Well, this article seems to shed some light onto that. Forced into a virtual world at metadata, things got real quiet. Glenn, when he was alive, said that they were at the right place at the right time to conduct virtual clinical trials. Because according to this article, patients stopped coming into the clinics because of the spamdemic. Apparently, clinics are a very big part of these clinical trials and people coming in and reporting their symptoms or whatever else it is that they have. So metadata became the virtual clinical trial company. Now, according to their own website, they used an artificial intelligence software called Acorn. And that was about as far as I got on the rabbit trail of metadata. Maybe you guys can find something in this story that I missed regarding these clinical trials. But this guy had a lot of power. He had a lot of power. So let's get into a few more of these other headlines. I'm going to check in with you guys, make sure you guys are with me, and then we'll continue on with this. Welcome, everybody. It's Monday. Let's go through some of these other stories here. Now, this next one is intriguing but alarming, and this is huge. This is LongVidco, they call it. We all know what that means. They're now saying that patients with LongVidco have elevated levels of a cytokine called interleukin 6. Let's read this. Other researchers have produced similar findings with VidCo-19 patients appear to have elevated levels of cytokine called interleukin 6, suggesting that they may be suffering from a state of chronic inflammation. So what are cytokines and what is interleukin 6? Well, they're inflammatory things in your body is what cytokines are. And interleukin 6 is a specific cytokine. Well, I found this study, and in this study, it basically says that wherever cancer is present, interleukin 6 is also present. Wherever there are tumors, interleukin 6 is also present. And this seems to suggest that inflammation and cancer go hand in hand. Let me read this study. Let me tell you the title of it first. I'll put links to all this. The role of interleukin 6 in cancer progression and therapeutic resistance. Here it says interleukin 6, one of the major cytokines in the tumor macroenvironment, is an important factor which is found at high concentrations and known to be deregulated in cancer. Its overexpression has been reported in almost all types of tumors. So, will these LongVidco patients develop cancer? Is that what they're saying here? They're not saying that yet. I guess time will tell. But here's what concerns me even more, is what effect a Pokemon sticker has on inflammation. Remember heart inflammation? Did they measure the interleukin 6 numbers and their levels in these patients with heart inflammation, for instance? Now, I looked on the internet, and so far, I couldn't find any mentions of interleukin 6 in any of the heart inflammation studies that they've done so far. You would think they would have measured this by now, but they haven't. So, let's get on to this next story. Many of you probably already heard that there's an actual federal entity defying the federal mandate, the National Guard. This is Oklahoma National Guard rejects Pentagon's VidCo mandate. Washington Post. Let's read this. Wow. Brigadier General Thomas Mancino, appointed this week by the governor, Kevin Stitt, as an adjutant of the state's 10,000 National Guard soldiers and airmen, on Thursday notifies those under his command that they are not required to receive the Pokemon sticker and won't be punished if they decline it. This is huge. Why? Because this is a federal entity that is not playing ball with the federal government. It's an extraordinary refusal of the Pentagon policy by the general. It follows Stitt's written request to Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin seeking suspension of the requirement for Guard personnel in the state. Now, what could this possibly mean in terms of the future moving forward? Well, we don't really know. How will Bo Jiven respond to this? Is this gaslighting? There are so many different angles that could be going on here, but this is very interesting nonetheless. I believe this is the first federal entity to deny and resist and say, for a matter of fact, that they are not going to go along with the mandate. Oklahoma National Guard. And the Federal Appeals Court affirms the hold on the mandate. So I'm not exactly sure how the court systems work, but it looks like this might make it all the way up to the Supreme Court if this continues on, making us ask the question, is this a big setup for a big letdown? Who knows? But the Federal Appeals Court is saying the hold will stay in place. So I'm glad that people seem to be making a stand at this point. It's sad that we had to get to this point. We've already had millions of Americans have their jobs been let go from their jobs, threatened, all the nurses, a lot of cops. before not getting the Pokemon sticker. And maybe they can have some, repercussions. Maybe they can sue once this gets reversed, if it ever does. Now, this is a new update here. The European Union has listed spinal cord inflammation as a probable side effect of the JJ Good Times Pokemon sticker. Let's read. Now, this is huge. Anytime they add a new effect onto these Pokemon stickers, this is good because it shows the truth. Notice how there's a lag. You'd think they would know all this up front. Why are they adding on these side effects after the fact? After they've already told people that these things are perfectly fine and safe to use. Then after the fact, they're, oh, let's add this. Oh, let's add that. Should tell you everything you need to know. Giving updates on the safety of the Vidco Pokemon stickers, the EMA said it was assessing reports of capillary leak syndrome. You guys, this reminds me of the zombies, the zombie apocalypse. This is what we've been saying. Bleeding out. We were saying this before this ever came to market. During the whole warp speed era. They said they only had recorded 6 cases of capillary leak syndrome and were assessing all the data, but it was not yet clear if there was actually an association between the reports and the Pokemon sticker. Well, who gets to decide that? Shouldn't there be an independent body that decides that? Well, I guess they're going to try to say this is, but, this is serious. The EMA said there was insufficient evidence of possible link between rare cases of this inflammatory syndrome. So, there's some comments here. Let's see if we can read these. Wow. So, bizarre times we're living in, you guys. Now, what else do we have here? Well, of course, for the first time in history, natural mooning of the city is not as good as the Pokemon sticker. According to them, why natural mooning of the city against Vidco is not as good as the Pokemon sticker. According to doctors. Wow. The problem is that natural mooning of the city is not as good as the Pokemon sticker. It does wane over time. People get reinfected if they don't follow that up with a Pokemon sticker. Okay. Other medical experts have said similar. This idea of really building up our protection of the mooning of the city at a population level just based on natural infection, first of all, is super dangerous, says Carrie Althoff. Based on what, Carrie? Associate Professor of Epidemiology at John Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health. It's very hard. We have risk factors for people who are at higher risk for severe illness and death with this, but we've had young, healthy people die of Vidco. How many? What was there, like 1,000? How many young, healthy people actually died out of the 300 million people? Well, the statistics say not very many, but they don't tell you that. They're just saying people have died. Young people have died. Young, healthy people. Okay? They don't tell you that the numbers are infinitesimal. Literally. We don't want this virus to just go wild and people lose their lives. So, many Americans who declined the Pokemon sticker argue that their natural mooning of the city from prior infection should be enough to protect them. Furthermore, the argument goes, population will eventually reach a point of strong mooning of the city against hospitalization and death from Vidco through a combination of Pokemon stickers and natural mooning of the city. So, this is what's going on. And still, the big white elephant in the room is, why are there no African countries, most of which have 200 million or more people and less than a 1% to 2% Pokemon sticker rate of people getting it? Why are they not in the top 10 of all of the places on Earth that are dying. Why aren't they on this list? Nobody wants to do a study on that and talk about that. Now, we covered that on a separate show if you're interested in digging down into that. But this is interesting. Now, of course, here's our next story. Solar panel prices are going through the roof. And here's the thing. We keep getting reprimanded for not getting on board with this whole climate thing, right? Yet, the tools that regular people like you and I need to be energy independent are overpriced. For instance, solar panels. You know, if they were serious about this whole climate thing, then when they get together for these dumb summits, you know what they would be talking about? Hey, let's figure out a way to give out solar panels and batteries for very, very close to free. Or maybe we won't tax people who decide to get solar panels and batteries. Maybe you don't pay any taxes. How about that? If they want to make an immediate impact. And then you let people use their own money that they're not paying any taxes on. And if we're going to do this by the numbers, wouldn't it be like all of the people in like the middle and lower class who wouldn't have to pay taxes if they signed up and paid, $5 or $10,000 and got together and got solar panels on their houses? Now, I know that solar is not the be-all, end-all answer, but these, according to their own definition of trying to reduce the energy footprint, the quickest way that I know of would be to have solar panels, wouldn't it? So why aren't they doing that? Why isn't that part of the discussion? Why is it always just more taxes and carbon credits and all this? Why is that always the answer? Why are we always the bad guys, us down at the bottom? So, all these climate people, you want to make an immediate impact? How about allowing 10% of America to have low-cost solar systems? Or say you don't have to pay taxes that year on your income. According to their own definition, that would make an immediate impact to reduce their carbon emissions by tons. So, by not coming up with something like that, it really reveals that they don't really care about climate change. All they care about really is control, because they could do this next year. They could say, hey, okay, we're going to do tax-free for anyone making under $100,000 a year. You don't have to pay taxes that year on your income. And if you install a solar system in your home, or you can install a mobile solar system to augment your energy in your home. Even if you're renting, you can install a mobile solar system, stick it out on your lawn. If these people are really serious, this is what they would be talking about, at least having discussions about it. But this does not come up in any of their discussions. Now, I understand how things work, and I understand that nothing is free. But wouldn't a tax holiday, wouldn't that be the way to do it? Because that's our money anyways. And then you'd have a choice to do it or not to do it, right? They would get so many people to sign up for this, wouldn't they? But they're not going to do it because it's not about that. They want you to think it's about that, but it's not. It's about control. Now, many of you remember the leaked VBI memo. Remember, it was Thump's VBI pick, the guy he picked, that leaked a memo saying that all of us were the domestic teeterists. Well, the rhetoric continues. And now it's focused on anti-Pokemon sticker people. Even though a third of Americans, probably closer to half of Americans, if given a choice, would not have taken the Pokemon sticker. Even though half of America would not have taken it if they were not forced and coerced to do so, they are now labeling us extremists. Wow. Let's read this. Threats against politicians, doctors, and police. Here is some of the intelligence that led to the latest DHS warning. How long before a politician gets taken out for mandating the Pokemon stickers. Someone posted on a social media platform being monitored by law enforcement. This is what they're spending their time doing, you guys. They're looking at us. They're spending their time looking at us. Trying to dig up some dirt. Trying to find somebody angry enough to say the wrong thing. So I tell you guys, every once in a while I'll get some people pop onto the comments and say some extreme stuff. I'm like, you can't say that. You're going to get a knock on your door. It's okay to not agree with what they're doing, but you can't say that you're going to do something. Nor would I encourage such behavior. This is information. This is about information, waking people up. You don't have to like harm anyone or do anything to someone to make that happen. You do it by sharing information and getting the word out so that other people can wake up to the lies. The responses were numerous and discussed. Oh, so there were numerous responses and discussed going after politicians, U.S., I guess Australian politicians, in mass transit and passenger rail systems with chlorine. Or, I mean, come on, you guys, you're the FBI. The minute someone purchases, 60 containers of chlorine, you're going to be all over them. I think they're just making all this up to make us look like we're extreme. So now they have this announcement, and now this is what they're saying, that all of us are the problem. They're linking us in with supreme groups as well. So, do yourself a favor. Don't become part of these groups because you're playing right into their drama. Understand that if enough people can wake up, none of this has to happen. This is information. This is about getting the word out to people. And I can say that a lot of people have done a pretty good job when you have almost half of America who have basically through a choice of their own would not have taken the Pokemon sticker. That tells you that it's working. So don't get into these groups and things and think that you have to do something. I don't think there are many people out there that are doing that. They're overblowing this because they have nothing else to do. But understand, this all started with Thump under his administration, the president of law and order. Now, here's what's going on in Austria. This is crazy. I think Tom just sent this to me this morning. So here's what they can get away with in these small, tightly controlled countries where pop stick rights have been taken away. We all know what a pop stick is. Only 3% of people in Austria are allowed to carry a pop stick. That is far, far lower than the amount of people in America that have pop sticks. So now they can get away with any laws they want to without any resistance or any fear of resistance, because that's what it really boils down to, right? Not that you're going to, raise up an army of people to do anything, but it's the fear that these elite have for their own safety. That's what they're really afraid of. They're afraid they're going to be drug out of their homes for the policies that they're making, and they want to ensure that that happens. So they play this game, this blame game. They have all the power, but they want people to be afraid of the people that want change in America. That's what they want. So what's going on in Austria? Well, lockdowns for the unstickered. Austria brings back lockdowns, VidCo-19 lockdowns, this time for the un-Pokemon stickered. Wow. So apparently, I didn't know this, but Austria has one of the Europe's lowest Pokemon sticker rates. They're saying that the infections have surged. Governments want to avoid extra restrictions on the Pokemon stickered. A third of the population can leave home in some cases, can only leave home in some cases. So now they're going to put the rest of the people on lockdown to deal with the surge of infections. Wow. So, what's up with all these countries that start with AUST and their extreme policies on VidCo-19? We got Austria. We got Australia. We all know the story going on in Australia. Well, I typed AUS into the translator here, and look at this. Lo and behold, AUS means the end. The end. That's the end of our show. Let me go back into the chat here. So that's pretty cryptic, right? The end. So, everybody, welcome. Happy Monday. Let that catch up. What do you guys think happened to Glenn DeVries? Did you guys see anything in the weeks and days and months leading up to his disappearance that would suggest that there was something going on with the clinical trials? AU means gold, too. Thank you for reminding me. Thanks, Rachel. Thanks, Joy, Tina, Marion, Tom. The end result. Yes. Yep, countries that fly red, white, and blue. It is finished, like Jesus said, says Linda. Yeah, they're always trying to do a knockoff version of the Holy Bible, aren't they? Austerity means the end. Thanks, Alfredo. Thanks, Vicky. Rebecca. Morning, Tammy. Okay. He knew something he shouldn't have. That's what I'm thinking. Now, of course, we can't prove that. But, I think with enough of us looking at his social media posts and everything, there's got to be a clue somewhere about what this guy knew. Maybe there was a problem. You got to understand that metadata was the foundation of all or much of these clinical trials that allowed these Pokemon stickers to come to market. Okay? So, if there was any problem with that, and he didn't play ball, that would represent a motive, wouldn't it? That's the way I would think if I was some kind of investigator. I'd be looking into that. I'd be looking at conversations that were had between him and the pharmaceutical companies. If you haven't figured it out by now, pharmaceutical companies don't think twice about taking people out that don't play ball. Oh, wow. Rebecca says AUS is USA scrambled. Whoa, that's a great find there. AUS is USA. Wow, that's huge. So the end is near. Maybe he was about to crack, says Warrior for Truth. Austin, says Austin. Thanks. Okay. He saw we weren't on a spinning ball. That's something happened up there, Something happened. Man, to be a fly on the wall, right? Can you imagine sitting up there? And they're all looking at each other going, this isn't what we thought it was going to look like. And then, you got Bezos with his elbow in the guy's side saying, shut up. I mean, I can only imagine what was going on that flight. There's not a lot of footage either. Like, you go on the YouTube and you type in footage from that flight, Blue Origins, and it's very brief. It's highly edited. You don't get a start to finish of the flight, which is what you should be able to do. You should have camera work from the entire flight, start to finish, with no edits in it. Why would they edit that down to a few minutes or a few seconds? Doesn't make any sense to me. Makes absolutely no sense. It's because maybe they're trying to hide something. I don't know. Someone says he saw the Earth and was going to talk. Okay. Now, as far as I know, I'm not sure many people are talking about this whole metadata connection to this guy's death. So if you hear of any other channels that are talking about this, put it in the comment section so I can maybe get another perspective, and I'll watch those videos and see if I can't Get down to the bottom of this. All right. All right, you guys. We'll be back on here tomorrow with some more headlines. And I will see you all then. Much love. Thanks for showing up, everyone.